Next, we are going to look at some practical examples where combining both the index and match functions can be highly beneficial. For this exercise, we are going to use index match to create a search bar. So let's get into it. When creating a search bar using index match, the first thing to do is to pick a value from the table. This value will be used to select the values in the row we want the data to show. So let's pick transaction ID, as it is the only value in the table that cannot be repeated. I'm going to pick transaction ID 20, but you can pick any one you want. So now let's get into it. Let's start with date. You start by clicking the equal sign, which is how you start writing a formula in Excel. You then type index, enter, and then select the table array. What the table array does is to look for a match for the lookup value in the selected area and return a matching value. And in this case, the table array is the entire table. So we highlight the entire table. Now to move on to the next step. Now the next step is to add the row number, which is to select the row in the array where the value is to be returned. Now what we can do is search for the value manually and input the exact row, and then also select the column number, which is 2, since we are looking for the date, and then close the bracket. Even though it will return the correct value, it defeats the whole purpose of a search bar, which is to return the value automatically. This is where we use the match function, which is what we'll use to make sure the values are returned automatically. So we type match and then select the lookup value, which is the transaction ID above. And as usual, what the lookup value will do is it will check the ID and then look for a match on the table array and then return a matching value for the selected row, which in this case will return the date of the transaction ID 20. The next step is to select the lookup array, which is the transaction ID column. This will search for the number that matches the lookup value in the table array and return it. In this case, it will search for transaction ID 20 and return the date in the same row as the transaction ID. Then type 0 to make sure that the value returned is an exact match as the lookup value, and then close the bracket. The match function will let you select the row number automatically instead of searching for the row number and typing it yourself. Now for the last step, select the column number, and as always, the numbering of the columns start from the left side of the table array to the right side. The column number for date is 2, which is what we'll type and then close the bracket. As you've noticed, a value has been returned, but it does not have the correct format. To change it to the correct format, what you simply need to do is click on the cell, go to the number format, and then select date. So change the format to date. And as you can see, the date returned is in the same row as the transaction ID in the table, which means this formula works. And if you change the transaction ID, it will also change to match the ID. Now all that is left is to do the same for the rest of the columns, starting with name. For name, you basically type the same code except for the column number where you type 3 to make sure the value returned is in the name column, and then adjust the format accordingly. And now, if we test it out, you can see that it works. And now we are done. Make sure you save your work, as we are going to be using this sheet in our next exercise. See you in the next video. Welcome back. In this module, we'll explore the advanced technique of using